The following is a presentation of the Healthcare Facilities Network. Hello, and welcome to the Healthcare Facilities Network. I am your host, Peter Martin, president of Gosselin Martin Associates. As always, thank you for clicking on the Healthcare Facilities Network YouTube channel. Today, I have a guest who I've known for many years, who is joining me today. His name is Mike Malik. Mike is a account manager for CME Corp in Warwick, Rhode Island. CME Corp works in healthcare equipment, supplies healthcare equipment, logistics, biomedical services across the country. They have offices in New York. They have offices in California. Mike has been with CME Corp since 2017, so coming up on 6 years. He has 34 years, though, spent in healthcare, healthcare sales, healthcare account sales, which he will describe to you. I'll ask him to give his little background in a bit. So 34 years of experience. And I should say that Mike and I met in college. So I've known him for 39 years. We were college roommates. I've never had one of my college roommates on the facilities network before, so this is a first, so bear with me. But I thought, Mike's got a lot of experience in the role. He was also named the 2023 Excellence in Sales Award for a Distributor. So he won a national award, was honored down in Atlanta in April. So he's got a lot of insights. And he and I were talking just kind of about the turbulence that's out there now relative to planning for equipment, getting equipment on site, just supply chain demands and supply chain delays and sales delays and sales force delays. So I thought, Mal, let's have Mike on. Let's have him talk about it from the distributor side. And so I thought this might be a timely broadcast. So Mike, welcome to the show.
Pete, thanks, man. It's an honor and a pleasure to be on your network. Let me tell you, I appreciate you having me on, and I look forward to a nice discussion here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, the information you supply will be timely. Everybody's getting hit by some of the same things. So you can provide a perspective that people don't often hear. Mike, you work on accounts in Wisconsin and Illinois. Tell us a little bit about what you do. What does an account manager at CME Corp do?
Well, being in distribution, I always say that your day is never the same, because you never know what's going to come at you on a daily basis. Because we have our hands in a lot of different things. We deal with a lot of different vendors. So there's just a lot going on at all times. So you never know what your days, you can always plan out your day and say, yeah, I want to get this done, this done, this done. But, it seems like always something's going to come up, or you got to shift gears pretty quick. But in general, an account manager is responsible for their territory. So I cover, like you said, all of Wisconsin, the majority of Illinois. And basically, my job is to grow the business at my customers' accounts, at my accounts, and to gain additional business to accounts that we don't have. But it's looking for opportunities, leveraging relationships to further existing opportunities potentially, at your existing customers. In essence, we are totally equipment focused. There are other distributors, don't get me wrong, that sell medical equipment. We as a distributor are solely focused on medical equipment, meaning these other distributors have a lot of disposables in their bags too. And the majority of their business is probably disposable business and not equipment business. All of our business is equipment. We're equipment focused, equipment centric. So we like to call ourselves pretty much the experts in the field of medical. I'll call it minor medical equipment, because we're not involved in the $1 million MRI machines and
yeah, I was going to ask you what type of equipment are you involved in?
Yeah, and that's whenever someone asks me that question, I always say, boy, I should have said this, and this, because there's so much. So literally, we have access to 2,000 plus different manufacturers of product, and then you can multiply how many products each manufacturer might have. So literally millions of products that we can probably, get access to and sell to our customers. But, I guess in general, our wheelhouse is like anything from a garbage can
Mhm.
to, a procedure table to, warming cabinets to refrigeration to storage solutions, to stainless steel products that are used in the OR, vital signs monitors, your diagnostic boards that go into exam rooms, you know, flow meters, regulators,
Sure.
um, that be used in a hospital setting. So it really runs the gamut. Like I said, our wheelhouse is anything from the $5 little garbage can. It could go up to a $20,000 steam sterilizer that sits on a counter type of thing. So it's really kind of open ended, but that's kind of our wheelhouse right there.
So what are the challenges, Mal, that your day is very similar to a facility director. The people who appear on this show say the same thing you did. I mean, you don't know what each day is going to hit you with, right? You come into the office, you have your list, but how often do you get through it? But what are you seeing relative to kind of the state of the market? Relative to, and I'm sure it depends on the equipment you're ordering, but just from a big picture, Mal, relative to what you are involved with, how would you describe the market today? Is it chaotic, topsy-turvy? Are there delays? What are your challenges
Yeah,
dealing with this
yeah.
market?
Let me maybe explain a little bit in regards to the makeup of at least my business. I would say 60 to 70% of my business is probably project oriented, and the balance is pretty much maybe onesie twosie replacement items, maybe not involved in a capital project that we would just sell a customer one vital signs monitor, one exam table that needs to go be replaced or whatever.
That's
But
a
I would
good
say
differentiator. So 60 to 70% of your work is involved with, it could be, is it anything from a bed tower to a dental clinic to a fit out of new space? It's all
you got
across
it.
the board. Okay.
Exactly. Eh, um, so in regards to that too, so again, the majority of my time is putting together quotations for these large projects, going through getting an equipment list from the customer, and the customer nowadays, it could be the hospital itself, a project manager at the hospital, or more often than not nowadays, it's becoming a third party, an equipment planner that's working on
Ah,
behalf of the facility that is potentially speccing that product and doing a lot of work in the foreground with their end users saying, okay, what are you going to need for this room? They do this years in advance. They
yeah.
put this equipment list together. That list gets turned over to us, and we always say, give us the whole list, because we try to get as much on that list for you as possible. So then, therefore, we're just trying to then go ahead and source that particular list. A lot of times now the customer will have specifics on that
Mhm.
list that, hey, this is their vital signs monitor, this is the brand, the model that they use. No worries, we can quote that. A lot of the times it might just say, yeah, I need a warming cabinet, or I need a stool. So, we then can go in and dig deeper as equipment experts to say, okay, you need a warming cabinet. Well, do you need a single chamber or a double chamber? Do you want a full size or a counter height? The same thing goes with, medical refrigeration. Yeah, I need a refrigerator, they'll say. Well, do you need it to be under counter or full size? Under counter. Well, if it's under counter, do you have ADA height counters?
Hmm.
Or do you have regular height counters? So we know to ask these questions to try to pinpoint sometimes the exact product. A lot of times the equipment planner does a great job, don't get me wrong, and they have they have everything specced out and the list is great. A lot of times there are a lot of questions that needed to be, asked in order to pinpoint the exact product that the customer needs. So, there's a lot of moving parts. I don't claim to be an expert on any particular piece of equipment or
Sure.
any particular line of product, because it's just too much out there that we handle that for me to become a quote unquote expert on it.
Yep.
But we try to know enough to be able to do some damage, and at least get those initial questions answered, and then if we need to move further with that, that's when we rely on our local reps, the manufacturer reps. There's usually a manufacturer rep for these products locally or, within a region that we can reach out to and get further clarification or get them involved with the customer if they need to talk, real technical about things.
So relative to the project work that you do, are you being brought in earlier in the process due to market uncertainty or really when are you typically brought in to a project, and are you facing any challenges now that weren't there, say 3 years ago pre-COVID?
So it completely varies. A lot of times, right, I'll get a list and, they're potentially not going to purchase those products for over a year, which is great. Getting in that early, then we can start talking about, items on their list that might, need more clarification or that have been discontinued. And then, look at, is this alternate going to suffice for you, et cetera, et cetera. So if you get in that early, it's really good. And we love to get in on the earlier the better. But a lot of the times, right, we're getting a list and it's like, hey, we're going to open in 3 months. We're going to open in 90 days. Here's this list. I need a quote and I need to buy and I need to get everything in. Now, 2 to 3 years ago, 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, that probably would have been okay.
Yeah.
Because I probably could have, a long list I could turn around within a week or two. You being the customer, go over that list, verify, check my pricing, et cetera, and I could probably get most of the items within 30 days. But with COVID, that pretty much all changed with supply chain interruptions, et cetera. And, we started seeing lead times of 6+ months for certain items.
Wow.
So, it went from a mindset of, oh, I can get these guys this list in, 90 to 120 days before I open. I can get it quoted, I can get an order, and then I can get everything in my warehouse within enough time for us to, receive it, assemble it,
Yep.
et cetera, and then deliver it. Well, those days have changed. So our customer mindset, obviously we communicated all this to our customers, and therefore they've started to order a lot earlier now too, which is great.
Yeah.
But it's also posed some issues in regards to ordering early, us, sitting on product in the warehouse a lot longer. And I think, that affects the company's cash flow because, we're paying for that product. Let's just say it doesn't have a 6-month lead time and we get an order 6 months in advance and we get that product in our warehouse in 30 days. Well, that's sitting in our warehouse for 5 months. We're not billing it. We have to pay the bill, right? But we can't bill it for another 5 to 6 months once we deliver it. And then we're not going to get paid on it for another 30, 45, 60 days. So that's posed some, cash flow issues in regards to that.
It's really interesting. You look at any, it's kind of why I like doing this, even though you're kind of a guy I've known for a long time, but everybody, every piece of the puzzle has a challenge that they're dealing with. And, I never would have thought you guys have, you might be sitting 5+ months on a product. So from the client end or from the hospital end, they're doing the right thing by them to order that, because that way they're going to make sure they have it by opening. But there's a downstream impact on you. As I was listening to you, Mel, you can't, or can you, like when you get an equipment order and it's 6 months in advance, you probably can't go through. Do you go through that order and say, okay, this one's a long lead item, I'm going to order it now, this one's not, or is that too confusing, but difficult?
It is very tedious to do that. But it really kind of has to be done because there are certain manufacturers that we work with who will hold orders. We'll say, hey, listen, so ultimately we aim to get it into our warehouse before a project 30 days before the customer need by date. Okay, ultimately, that would be ideal, right? So we get it in our warehouse 30 days before the customer needs it. A lot of the manufacturers, or at least some of the manufacturers that we deal with, if we get them an order 6 months in advance and we say don't ship it to us until September, or let's say August 24th, because we want to get it September 1st because the customer wants it October 1st, a lot of the manufacturers will work with us and do that for us. But there are a lot of others that won't. They're like, nope, we've got to ship it now. So then we have to make the determination of, okay, do we order that at a later date? Right? So do we order that closer to that, say the beginning of August, if it has a 30-day lead time or something like that? We run the risk when we do that, though, we run the risk of supply chain changes. Maybe today that's available and it's got a 2-week lead time.
Mm.
But if something happens, a month or two from now, and that lead time goes from 30 to 90 days, and we order it 30 days before our need by date, then we're not going to have it for when the customer needs it, right?
Yeah.
So, and then also we run the risk of a price increase. So that manufacturer could potentially, have a price increase between if we're holding that order. So I personally don't like to hold the orders.
Yeah.
I'd rather just get it ordered and get it in our warehouse. We give our customers some flexibility as far as, the time things can be held in our warehouse without implementing some storage fees. So that's the other end of it. If we get product, if we have to get product in our warehouse far in advance, we might have to talk to our customers about some storage fees, depending on how long in advance, we need to get that product into our warehouse. And then in regards to like supply chain interruptions and, the crux of this whole problem, it's gotten a lot better. I will say that in the last, 6 months to a year, maybe the last 6 months has gotten a lot better. Lead times have decreased. But there are still a number of products that we have really long extended lead times on. For instance, like AEDs, an AED,
Really?
that's going in a wall cabinet. That's pretty much they're ordering at all the offsites or any new piece of construction or renovations. Ordering AEDs. They're like 6 months plus to get an AED.
Wow.
Right now, and I know some vital signs monitors are delayed. Some of the diagnostic pieces of equipment, like your otoscope and ophthalmoscope heads, have been delayed as well. So it kind of is. It's, again, for the most part, it's gotten better, but some things have gotten a little bit worse, and it seems to be chip oriented. I would say more or less the items that require a chip potentially, could have delays.
So if it's a chip item, you may want to consider longer leads.
Exactly. Yeah, I would. Yeah, and it really it changes. I mean, it's like it's like that's why I say this business is different every day, because it's like, boy, oh boy, that a week ago or two I checked on that item and it had a 2 to 3 week lead time, and now I ordered it and I'm seeing I'm not going to get it for 8 to 10 weeks. What's up? And they're like, oh yeah, well, we've got a problem with either a chip or a piece of the product that we can't get in and make it. And that's where, again, when instances like that happen, we work with our manufacturer partners. We reach out to them and say, hey, listen, I've got a customer that's gonna, that needs this for an opening on X date. You're telling me it's coming in, not going to ship until after that date. Can you push this to the top, or can you do something to expedite it out to us? So, that relationship we have with our vendors is vital to our success as well. I mean, we look at our vendors as customers as well. So we like to have, we like to form a nice bond with our vendor partners, because without our vendors being a distributor, who are we? We don't have anything.
Yeah. What have you seen relative to price increases, order of magnitude? What's happened to prices over the last 3 years or so?
Yeah, boy, like last year, like 2012, there was probably each manufacturer had multiple price increases. I mean, usually in general, we'll see a price increase or a new price list from a vendor, January 1st, usually, right? First of the year price increases on a normal year. Last year we saw, literally multiple price increases from vendors almost across the board. So it was very turbulent. So that made it difficult as well too, because a lot of times when we're doing our quotes, we'll have a price on it. Obviously, it'll have, usually our expiration dates have a 30-day expiration date on our quote, which helps. But normally on a large project, we're not getting that PO within 30 days after that quote's complete. So normally it's lagging a little bit longer than that. So that we ran into a lot of situations last year where we had to go back to our customer and say, hey, listen, this price has changed since I quoted it. They may give us the PO on that quote that's older than 30 days old. But then I got to go back. I went back to them and I had to, explain to them, hey, they had a price increase. We've got to change this price. But for the most part, it seems that pricing has pretty much stabilized for the most part in the marketplace right now. So this year has been a lot better in regards to pricing stabilization as opposed to what it was last year. Last year was pretty much a nightmare.
Really?
Yeah.
And are you finding, and it sounds like some of these cases you're dealing with the equipment planner rather than directly with the organization, but when you go back to them and say, hey, this price increased by X amount, how do they receive that message? Do they understand that it's kind of the market, or what do they say to you and what do you say to that?
Yeah, no, for the most part, I think they've been very understanding. You just basically, honesty is the best policy, and especially in business and in distribution, you just you've gotta be honest and upfront and say, listen, they had a 15% increase, and we've got to raise the price. For the most part, yes, it was very, I would say, well received, but it was they were very understanding due to the market conditions and the fact that there was so much fluctuation in the market. I mean, yeah, I used to also, a lot of our customers like to have freight on their quotes as well, like, so because a lot of times that's maybe a different account that comes out or a different bucket, but a lot of my customers want to have a freight estimate on their quote. And I used to be able to pretty much guesstimate, what that freight's going to be per item. I quit guessing because it got to the point where the freight was just like getting crazy. And I was always underestimating, because based on history, I was always underestimating. And I'm like, I can't estimate anymore. I've got to get actual, a real freight estimate for each and every item. And then, obviously calculate that along the way to give you a freight total that's pretty much accurate.
Yeah.
So it's become difficult on a lot of levels, no doubt.
Well, the way that works. I mean, I was on the owner's side. The first number you get from whether it's a distributor or your construction manager, whoever that first number you put out there, rightly or wrongly, you can qualify it, but they're going to hold you to it. They're going to hold you to it.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. Yeah. If we get held to it, then too, we need to make sure that, the number is solid that we're giving to that customer, because that's, if not, that's going to come off our bottom line, because we got to eat the difference of that. So yeah, we've really got to dot our I's and cross our T's in regards to a lot of the things that are happening in the marketplace, with lead times and freight estimates and prices and things like that. So we try to be as accurate as possible.
Sure.
We do a very good job of maintaining our database and our pricing structure and all that. So we are very accurate, and I'm surprised how accurate we are based on the number of products that we have access to, and that need to have accurate numbers tied to them in our system.
Or is project work, is it stabilizing now? Is it running to schedule, or where does that stand?
I would say the projects that I've worked on most recently and we've delivered most recently have been pretty much running on schedule. Maybe one was like maybe 30 days behind schedule initially. We just kind of had a perfect storm in June where we basically, and I knew this was going to happen. We had booked three large projects for three different healthcare systems, and we got the orders, some of them 6-8 months ago, and had been tracking what their need by date was going to be, and they were all kind of within 30 to 60 days, but it all ended up being, I need this done by the end of June. It was all three projects, so we just kind of hit a perfect storm there in regards to three projects that amounted to pretty large dollars in our world, that we had to basically coordinate deliveries and make sure that we get everything done in time for these customers, because they have openings that they need to plan for and they need to hit too. So it was a very hectic month. It was a very successful month. We did, my crew did a fantastic job of, organizing, scheduling, and making sure that everything was, delivered and in place. So, these customers can hit the ground running basically and open on time. And that's one thing that we like to do is we like to, tell our customers the last thing we want to do is not have you open on time.
Yeah.
Especially on an account of something, that we're missing for you. We that's almost it's unacceptable in our eyes. So that's, we want to give our customers that peace of mind, and we give them a lot of visibility as well. We send them tracking reports, could be on a weekly basis, of everything that they've ordered from us and where it's at in the mix. So they have visibility to, where things are, when they're coming in our warehouse, if they've been in our warehouse, when they got in our warehouse, et cetera, et cetera. So it's really not a surprise to our customers when something's not there.
Yeah.
We usually, have basically informed them prior to that, hey, this could be a potential item. Do you want to wait for it, or do you want to look at, a potential alternative?
Yeah. Well, I mean, in your line of work, I'm sure no surprises to the client, and then hitting those opening dates, that's the metric, right? I mean, if you slip on an opening date, it's on you, but then it's on them, because that's what their pro formers are based on opening dates.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's why we like to have a lot of that. We like to have full transparency, and like these tracking reports we put together for customers is wonderful, because one of my big customers has, could have 8 to 10, 12, 15 projects going on right now that they've purchased for, let's say, and that they've, and we send them like, one tracker for, it's all consolidated for all their projects, so they can go into each project, hit a tab on, the file, and look at each project and see where the items are, and if everything's in our warehouse, or what potentially is going to be delayed, type of thing. So yeah, that transparency, and the customer loves it, because then they have peace of mind knowing that, hey, all this stuff's going to be in, none of this should be an issue. We should have it for our opening.
So last question, Mal, and I am talking to Mike Malik. Mike is the account manager for CME Corp. Mike's territory is Wisconsin and Illinois. What would you say? And I know you said a lot of times you're dealing with the equipment planner, but whomever that owner is, whether it's the equipment planner or the director, or the facility director, or clinician, whatever, are there 2 or 3 pieces of advice that you would give to them relative to best practices to follow when it comes to, your role, the equipment ordering and getting things, and 2 to 3 things that they should do on every project that work?
Over communicate.
Can I ask you a question? You just said over communicate. Do you find on your end, I know you over communicate, do you find that getting communication from clients, from owners, is more difficult now than it was, just due to the volume and to the craziness of the world?
Like everything else, it kind of depends on the project. It depends. Usually, if you've got an equipment planner involved, they have skin in the game. Obviously, they want, that's their customer. That health system is their customer as well. And they want to perform good for them. So the equipment planners usually communicate very well with us, because they want to have a successful project, obviously, because that's a customer that they want to keep and grow, et cetera, et cetera. But you do find yourself at times, struggling for whatever reason to get some proper information. And even sometimes, like when we go on site, there's kind of, the facility may not have someone there to answer questions when we don't know maybe where something goes, or where something is, and that kind of delays some processes and things like that. So communicating, having someone on site when we make our deliveries is always very helpful in regards to that. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I could think of about advice. But over communication and just forming a good relationship with the vendor partner that you're dealing with, because that just goes a long way in regards to
anything. And you've talked about a number of different things throughout the course of this episode, but relative to scheduling and or budgeting, is there Is there advice relative to those two things that is important?
You know, scheduling, I always tell my customers, get something on the books sooner than later. Because our schedule, especially like when we're doing deliveries and, if they're a specific time that they want the delivery, we've been filling up fast. And I just say, get it on the books. Let's just, even if it's September, October, November right now, give me the dates. Let's get it on the books. And just so we can reserve that for you, because if we don't do that and we've got something else planned, then we end up scrambling and it becomes, difficult for us to try to coordinate and get everything done. So in regards to that, I would say, advanced planning is wonderful. Even just scheduling potential delivery dates, even if it might change and might shift.
Yeah.
If we got something blocked off and then we need to shift something, at least that opens up other dates that we can slide something into and move that customer somewhere else. So that's always excellent to do, to be honest with you.
So that's 34 years of medical equipment and medical sales advice. It's a long time now. Last question. What is that picture over your left shoulder?
Oh, that is Scott Pasednik.
Oh my God.
Game 2, 2005 World Series, when he hit the walk-off homer in, I think it was the bottom of the ninth. It was a tie game to win Game 2 of the 2005 World Series that put the Sox up 2-0 in that series.
So I just threw Mal a little softball there. Not too much inside baseball, but he is a Chicago White Sox diehard and a Chicago Cubs hater. And that is all I will say on those two things. So Mike Malik, account manager, CME Corp. Thank you for your time,
Peter.
I appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for watching this episode of the Healthcare Facilities Network. Please give this episode a like, as it really does make a difference in helping to promote the discipline of healthcare facilities management.